I think most of the gay people that are looking for gay marriage are looking for financial peace of mind for their partner, which tells me that they care for their partner, so they want them to be set straight, set financially.
Well, I agree. It's a big financial issue here. Let's not fool ourselves.
Yes.
It is a big issue. Well, look, I don't know if you're a regular listener or you just happen to be scanning the dial and heard of the topic and tuned in. I really don't know. Which one is it?
Definitely a regular listener, a great admirer.
So you're a gay man who's not a bigot like most gays in San Francisco are.
Oh, no.
They hate me because they've typecast me. They don't even know who I am.
Wow.
Because I oppose gay marriage, suddenly I'm Hitler to them.
Oh, wow. Dr. Savage, I have to tell you one thing. 1957, I was born, and I was adopted. And I was adopted by a straight couple. My parents, who adopted me, were the best parents I could have ever had. And do you know, they accepted me. The only thing they cared about, as long as I cared about people and did the right thing in life, that's all they cared about.
No, what parent who's sane wouldn't have that attitude? I mean, if a parent has a gay child, how could you look at it any other way? What are you going to do, beat them up?
That's true.
I mean, you're lucky that they were that enlightened at that time, because there was some who, saw it a whole different way, and they ridiculed the child. They made their life a living hell. Some threw them out of the houses. I know it was awful in those days, but so these are issues that affect all of us. They're going to affect society. I don't know which way the ruling is going to come down. From my point of view, I oppose gay marriage, but truthfully, I don't think it'll change my life one way or the other. I mean, at the end of the day, is my life going to be changed if they approve gay marriage? I oppose it for the reasons I mentioned, but at the end of the day, my life is not going to change one iota. I'm still going to get up in the morning with slight pains in my right hand, with a stiff right leg. I'm still going to do the things I do every day. I'm still going to worry about my own fate, my own morality, my own mortality. I don't see how this is going to affect me one way or the other, to be honest with you.
Right.
I mean, really, what does it matter to me? What do I care at the end of the day?
That's true.
I mean, I oppose it for the reasons I mentioned, which is I think it's confusing to children, but I'm not a child.
Right.
So it's two things here. Look, it's a product of my having grown up in a big city called New York City. And I would say in the formative years of the 1950s, you'd think I grew up in a Neanderthal time, but my father was an antique dealer. And as an antique dealer, believe me, I was exposed to a wide variety of humanity, including quite a few gay decorators who came into the store, incidentally. And never once did he ridicule them, by the way. Even though he was an immigrant, even though he came from another world, I never heard him go home and laugh at them or make a joke about them. They were good customers, and generally they were far more civilized than most of the other people that we met.
Right, and maybe that's because they did the job that they were supposed to do. And they did.
I don't know. They didn't bother anybody. They were better dressed. They had nicer haircuts, and they spent more money. I'm sorry. I remember there was a couple they had a store over in the West Village on Sullivan Street, in a better neighborhood than my father's store. And we used to call them, I called them, or the guys called them nice and nasty. One of them was a very, masculine guy, and he was the nice one. And then the feminine one, he was the nastiest SOB. Whatever you said to him, he would put you down. He snapped at you no matter what you said. And it was amazing how they behaved so predictably. Well, as the years went on, and I grew up and left, and my father passed away, I came back to New York, and lo and behold, I was walking through the West Village, and I stumbled into an antique store, and there they were with gray hair. They didn't recognize me, and I asked them the price of something, and sure enough, the nice one gave me the price. The other one was nasty and almost threw me out of the store for no reason. So I said they never changed one iota in 20 years. Now, that's neither here nor there, but I'm telling you that my background is a little more diverse than those who are quick to categorize individuals or stereotype them. You say, here's something interesting. You say you've been subject to prejudice as a gay man, right, with gay slurs? Can you imagine what it's like being Michael Savage, being a conservative, an outspoken one at that in San Francisco for all these years? What I have to put up with? Exactly. Can you imagine the life of rejection that I live? Can you imagine the hatred that I experience from the bigots here in this city who call themselves liberal, gay or straight?
Yes, I understand. understand.
Do you realize what I've suffered as a result of being an outspoken conservative who loves America in this city? I've sacrificed an awful lot for my beliefs, so trust me, I can identify with your position in that regard.
If only they would truly listen to you, because
they don't listen to me. If only they'd listen to me, they'd know that I'm not who they say I am, but that's asking too much of Nancy Pelosi and her acolytes. Listen, my friend, a pleasure. I'm sending you a copy of my beautiful hardcover book, Countdown to Mecca, that you will love. The cover is gorgeous. Talking about design, I mean, this cover is unbelievable. It looks like a chrome steel mount looking at me. Michael Savage, Countdown to Mecca, another book that goes on the bookshelf. This show is flying by. It's one of those days where if we were talking about, if I was talking about Baltimore or I was just doing liberals this, conservative, I would have a heart attack by now. I'd be like apoplectic. I wouldn't feel good. My neck would be swollen. I'd be coughing. Why is it that when I have a discussion that's on a slightly elevated level, and I really express my opinion without worrying so much about what people think, why is it the show is better and I feel better? I'll let you figure out why, because freedom is everything. Freedom, the freedom of expression is everything in the world. And that's something that we have to cherish and fight for in this country. Really, I don't want to get too preachy, but really that's the essence of America. I'm running the scholarship contest where I'm giving away the $100,000 to 10 lucky kids. And some of the essays are awesome. But at the end of the day, you know what it comes down to? It's, what is America? I said define America. I don't think there's anything that more clearly defines America than freedom of expression. And as an outspoken conservative, me, Michael, I've got to tell you how much hatred I have experienced in my life from people who are called liberals and how illiberal they really are, how fascistic they really are, how intolerant they really are. You haven't any idea what it's like to have achieved what I have achieved through extremely hard work and be castigated as an outcast in a city because I don't conform to their belief system. You know what it's like to have earned a PhD from the University of California at Berkeley and have never been invited back to that university to give one speech while they invite street bums and rats and radicals to give valedictoria, this speech, that speech, low-life politicians. You think that doesn't bother me? Do you know what it's like to live in a city and having written 29 books and have the newspaper not cover any of the books? Do you know what it's like to be treated worse than a black was treated in the South in the 1950s by liberals in San Francisco? Well, I'll tell you someday what it's all about, but I'm not here to complain. And so when you say you're talking about gays and experience of prejudice, let me tell you something. They're not alone in experiencing prejudice from the greatest society. Try being a conservative in a so-called liberal city. I'll be right back. It's the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Your Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com. It's the only company I trust for tangible assets, gold and silver. Call 800-BUICOIN. You know, I can do an entire show about this show, and I think I might do that tomorrow. Because the callers that I've received thus far, for those of you who've been listening, there's a discussion for 3 hours now on gay marriage. The type of caller I've been getting is very different than the normal caller to talk radio in general, and different than the normal caller I get on the Savage Nation. There's a certain civility, a certain sensibility to it that I don't normally get that makes talk radio much better for me this way. And I wish to God that every day we could do a show like this. How can I do it every day? You think I'm going to do this tomorrow, another show on gay marriage? I probably won't. I don't know. Maybe I'll do a show on suicide tomorrow. That was... I almost did a show on suicide today because I've been reading about suicide, and I was going to talk about it, euthanasia, suicide. And then all of a sudden the sound on this came up. I said, wait a minute, this is... I never do the gay stories, by the way, because I avoid it, to be very honest with you, because I've been castigated by certain individuals in the community. I figured, who needs it? You know what I mean? But this is a topic now that's mainstream. It's in the Supreme Court. Nobody can accuse me of bigotry just because I oppose gay marriage. It's impossible, unless they themselves are the bigots. So I figured I would take a chance with it. But I don't know what tomorrow is going to be about. Let's go to a few more callers on the show. I could go another 3 hours on it. WBAP in Dallas. WBAP in Dallas. Mark, welcome to the Savage Nation.
Yes, my call today was about, it seems that all through the program, everyone pretty much agrees that it's a redefinition of marriage, whichever side they're on. And I was wondering, should we not ask the question, when and by whom was marriage defined, and why do we even need it anymore?
It's an interesting question, and given the number of births of people who are not married, I would say a lot of people have either come to the same conclusion or the forces of society have driven that conclusion. But let's go back in time. When did marriage originate and why? Well, you could say it was to promote the proliferation of the species. Wouldn't you say that that would be one argument?
That is one purpose, I believe.
Another purpose would be to make certain that property rights are transferred properly from the progenitors of that child to the child, so that it's not seized by others. In other words, inheritance rights would be another reason for marriage, right?
As it evolved, I would agree.
So those are the beginnings of it, and also to keep people in line. I mean, the thing is, if you look at the Old Testament, God, I can go on now for 30 minutes. If you look at the restrictions in Deuteronomy, where there's such strong restrictions against homosexuality, including stoning people to death for this, which is why the radical Muslims are so dangerous, because they picked this up out of whole cloth and have never evolved beyond 5,000 years ago. What was the purpose of an ancient tribal people called the Jews imposing such strict, crazed rules on the tribesmen? Obviously, people were doing it. Think about it. In other words, if the rabbis said, God said a man shall not lie with a man like with a woman, why would they have to say it if men were not lying with men like with a woman? So men were lying with men like with women, right?
Exactly.
All right, so the ancient rabbis, if they said God said it or they wrote it, who knows what, some believe it was God's words, some believe it was just the wise men of the time, they did it in order to make sure that the men didn't lie with men, that they lied with the women to make babies so that the people wouldn't die out. That would be a very elemental way of looking at why that law was written. Would that be correct?
I would agree with that, and it also shows that this is nothing new. This is not
no. What? Not being gay is nothing new. No, it's nothing new. No, it's nothing new. Now, in Greek society, homosexuality was quite normal. Do you know that in ancient Roman society it was also not prohibited in the way that we think it was? We think of Roman gladiators and such as macho and this and that. They just as soon slept with men as with women. Did you know that?
I do.
Yeah, so believe me, I know a lot more about history than I have a chance to express. And so now here we are revisiting a very, very, very historically interesting topic. And we're looking at it almost from a puritanical point of view in America, as though it's a brand new subject, when it's not brand new at all. It's been around a long time, right?
Yes.
All right. So you raised the question of why do we even need marriage? And I don't know. See, I don't sense that I know exactly what you're asking. So why don't you conclude by telling us what you mean?
It is the ultimate question of who came up with the idea of marriage and the purpose for it.
Well, I think I've given you my anthro-religious points of view, and I would say that they're only my own. I've not read them anywhere, but I want to thank you for listening. I'm sending you a free copy of my novel, which will be out next week, Countdown to Mecca. Well, it's countdown to the end of the show today. I'm sorry it has to come to an end, and I know many of you are as well. And with God's will and your listenership, I, Michael Savage, shall be back tomorrow on the same station. Be here or be nowhere.